Hey everyone, Brad here. So, doing a quick video walkthrough for my Rails and JavaScript project. This was basically just a refactor of the previous Rails project, the bike warehouse that I made. And so the basic requirements for this project were to just refactor the index page and the show page to dynamically render the content rather than passing. Sorry about that. Rather than passing the content from the controller like we did in the previously. So here's the requirements. At least one index page to be done dynamically, show page to be done dynamically, showing a has menu relationship dynamically, and then using a form to dynamically submit some content, and using at least one JSON model within the code somewhere. So my approach was basically just to take my index page, right, and have it render this content dynamically. And so what that ended up looking like, let me close out some of these tabs here. What that ended up looking like in my controller, maybe I don't have the controller open here. So for the index, basically what that ended up looking like is putting in this respond to format option, and telling the basically to send the information back as JSON. And then the other key thing was in the views, in my bike's index view, which I think I have right here. There we are. This basically got stripped down to basically just rendering this partial view, which is called table, and that basically just sets up the initial table with these headers on it, and then running a little, putting in this little script tag to run this init, which is launched over here in my JavaScript. Basically what this init function does, it checks to see if it's, because this same file is used for both the index and the show page. So basically I had it check to see if there's an element with a bike's index class, or if there's an element with the bike show class. And that basically tells it how to respond. Either it's going to retrieve a whole bunch of bikes, or it's just going to retrieve one bike. And basically each of those methods, here's the retrieve bikes, right? So this is just firing an AJAX request to bikes.json. It then takes and it caches those bikes into an array. Where did I set up that array though? In my bike class JavaScript. So it basically pushes those into an array that keeps the app from having to send GET requests all the time if the user were to change something up. For example, if they were to click on these columns to resort them, we're not having to fire a GET request for each of those. It simply just sorts the, oops, clicked on the wrong thing. It simply just sorts what's already in the cache. And the other thing that this bikes to cache will do is it actually creates this bike object, which again was in bikeclass.js, and it's just a constructor where we pass in the information, and it basically sets all the IDs. The other key thing that this has is this is where the sort by, so some listeners were attached to these headers, and these basically trigger this sort by function to fire, where it passes in the field name, which would be the name that we have right up here, and it basically takes care of sorting the bike cache by that field name. there's also this create reviews. This is actually, we'll see that on the show page. The other thing that, one of the other requirements for on the spec sheet was to make sure that there was a class-specific method, and that's basically the way I achieved that was with this full name. And we can see that when we look at the view one of these bikes. I actually don't have it showing. I thought it was, so that's interesting. So there are a couple things that I actually want to fix while doing this walkthrough, and one was the other day I noticed that this components isn't showing up for some reason, and the other one is the disciplines aren't showing up right here. I'm not sure why the components aren't showing up. I know why the disciplines aren't showing up, so we're going to try and fix that. We're also going to put in a little header here that has the full bike name. So let's just do that real quick, actually, while I'm thinking about this. So if I go back to my show page, I already have a tag in there for the name to show up. I just need to make sure I'm filling it in. So that's going to be happening in my bike.js, and down here, here's my show code for that. And right here is where we're loading in all the bike details. So real quick, let's go ahead and grab that. Oh, it's actually doing it right there. H1. So let's see what's going on here. Let me go ahead and inspect this page here and see what sort of stuff we have in the body. And there is my full name. That's interesting. So my approach at this stuff, sometimes I get this jQuery wrong. So my approach to fixing this is to basically just run that jQuery right here. And what does that come up with? That worked. So if that works, my next option is usually to throw a debugger in here, and let's reload this page. We'll hit that debugger, and then let's hop over here and see what we get. First of all, we have our bike object, and oh, I see what I did wrong. I called bike.fullName as if it's a property, but it is a function. And that's not how we spell it either. There we are. Let's take that debugger out. There we are. Easy fix. Let's address this next one now. Components is coming up undefined for some reason. Should have left that debugger in there. Let's do this one more time. And let's look at that bike object and see what properties we have on it. And there is not, components is not listed in there. So I'm wondering if I forgot to send it over in the serializer perhaps. So let me check there first. And no, it's showing up there. That makes me think that I probably forgot to, over here when I'm creating these, constructing these, I bet, yeah, it's not even listed in here. Okay, so let's go back here real quick. Let's take that out. Reload this. Okay, easy fix. The other one is this discipline names, and so in my original project I had a method built called discipline names. Basically the disciplines was a different model, and so I had made a discipline names method that just joined all the various model names with a comma. But for the sake of this project, I didn't want to just join them all with a comma. They actually get sent over. If we, actually I should be able to, yeah, let me just pull up the first blanket here. It actually gets sent over as an array of the actual disciplines. So I need to build in some way to go through the disciplines here and join them together with a comma or something like that. So let's do that real quick. First things first, I'm going to make sure that I'm grabbing this box. Make sure that shows up. Okay, that shows up. So I think the next thing I'm going to do, I'm probably going to construct this over in my my actual model for this, and take a similar approach to what I did with the original Rails project. And let me think here. I've got the oftentimes I find it easiest to test some code over here in console, so let me do a let me think about this. Just want to grab that first bike real quick, and bike.disciplines. If I map these, so that got me a nice little array of just the discipline names. I'm drawing a blank on, I'm sure there's a way to join a JavaScript array. There we are. So it's just going to be that. There we are. That's pretty simple. Nice clean one line. So let's set that up as what we're returning right here, basically. And this should be this. I think that should take care of it. Now we just need to add that into our bike.js here. Let's see where let me change these to, so we can do substitution. And let's see if that works. Did not work. Cannot read property map of undefined. Okay. So what did I do wrong? Oh, did I? Disciplines. I have discipline spelled right here. I don't have it spelled right there. This is interesting. Well, there we go. That did fix it. Well, interesting. So there we are. So that got that stuff fixed and working properly now. So then the other aspect of this was just that form submission, right? So basically this comment form right here will dynamically submit. This is the newest comment, and we'll give it a 5. And if we hit leave review, we'll see that there wasn't any page reloading or refresh, but our newest review popped in right here at the top of the page. Shows us who left it, when it was left, and we can scroll through and we can see that these go from newest down to oldest. Again, all that was accomplished in this bike.js. Basically, there's these functions to hijack the form submission, right? We prevent the default action from happening. We serialize the data, which is a nice handy way to take the data from that submission form and turn it into a URL, basically. And then we just post that information to the appropriate place. And I said that turns it into a URL. It doesn't turn it into a URL, but it just turns it into parameters that are passed within the URL then. Once we are done, take that response. This actually creates another JavaScript model, and then it prepends that new model to the review block, right? Which is, again, if we go in here and inspect, missed it, but if we inspect it right here, we have this reviews block, and it prepends it. That was just a handy way of putting the newest ones at the top, basically. I think that's about all the information I was going to cover in this walkthrough. So thanks for taking the time to watch. Talk to you later.